School typically doesn't prepare young people for real life unless their lives are spent following instructions and pleasing others. In my opinion, that's why so many students who succeed in school fail in life. Don't worry about looking good, worry about achieving your goals. When you think that it's too hard, remember that in the long run, doing the things that will make you successful is a lot easier than being unsuccessful. Remember that the only purpose of money is to get you what you want, so think hard about what you value and put it above money. The most important thing is that you develop your own principles and ideally write them down, especially if you are working with others. If you're not failing, you're not pushing your limits, and if you're not pushing your limits, you're not maximizing your potential. Nature gave us pain as a messaging device to tell us that we are approaching, or that we have exceeded, our limits in some way. If you are not aggressive, you are not going to make money, and if you are not defensive, you are not going to keep money. The people who work for you should constantly challenge you. Don't hire people just to fit the first job they will do. Hire people you want to share your life with. Not being controlled by an emotion helps to see things at a higher level. It's more important to do big things well than to do the small things perfectly. Great people are hard to find, so make sure you think about how to keep them. If you don't look at yourself and think, "Wow, how stupid I was a year ago," then you must not have learned much in the last year. Choose your habits well. Habit is probably the most powerful tool in your brain's toolbox. Almost nothing can stop you from succeeding if you have flexibility and self-accountability. Every game has principles that successful players master to achieve winning results. So does life. Listening to uninformed people is worse than having no answers at all. It is far more common for people to allow ego to stand in the way of learning. Remember that in great partnerships, consideration and generosity are more important than money. If your objective is to be as good as you can be, then you're going to want criticism. Most of life's greatest opportunities come out of moments of struggle. It's up to you to make the most of these tests of creativity and character. More than anything else, what differentiates people who live up to their potential from those who don't is a willingness to look at themselves and others objectively. Don't just pay attention to your job, pay attention to how your job will be done if you are no longer around. Great is better than terrible, and terrible is better than mediocre, because terrible at least gives life flavor. The greatest tragedy of mankind is people who have opinions that are wrong. If you can stare hard at your problems, they almost always shrink or disappear, because you almost always find a better way of dealing with them than if you don't face them head on. The more difficult the problem, the more important it is that you stare at it and deal with it. The happiest people discover their own nature and match their life to it. He who lives by the crystal ball will eat shattered glass. To make money in the markets, you have to think independently and be humble. Idealists who are not well grounded in reality create problems, not progress. There are two main drivers of asset class returns: inflation and growth. Success comes from knowing what you don't know, more than coming from what you do know. Be wary of the arrogant intellectual who comments from the stands without having played on the field. The more you think you know, the more closed-minded you'll be. Remember that weaknesses don't matter if you find solutions. To test if you are worrying too much about looking good, observe how you feel when you find out you've made a mistake or don't know something.